Welcome to today's land auction via AuctionCast, the most informative method to buy and sell land at auction. I'm your host here at the desk, Jen Bush, and I'm joined by our auction manager today, Brian Haugen of Land Pros, and Craig Borchard of Ascent Financial to help us take a little bit more in-depth look. The financial analysis is what Craig will do. And later in the auction, Alex Wayne is our agronomy expert, and he will be joining us a little bit later in the show to tell us a little bit more about the farm. We have a really exciting auction today. We will be selling the Reinhardt family farm. This land is located in Sibley County, Minnesota, with 139.5 more or less acres. This will be offered as one tract today. But before we get started, we have the land market update. I'd like you to see what we've got for land market update. This is where we show you some of the top recent regional and state sales. August 8th, 2024, Poweshiek County, Iowa, there was 80 deeded acres. That was 19,000 per acre. That was a 91.2 CSR2. On August 22nd of 2024, Franklin County, Iowa, that was 149 deeded acres at 17,400 per acre, a 95.3 CSR2. And August 28th, 2024, Macon County, Illinois, we had 41.34 deeded acres. That was 18,000 sold for per acre at 140.1 Illinois PI. We've also got here locally in Minnesota our top sales. August 1st, we had Redwood County, Minnesota. There was 80 deeded acres. That was $10,027 per acre. That was a 91.9 CPI. And then July 23rd of 2024, Nobles County, Minnesota, 79.77 deeded acres. That was $12,750 per acre, a 96.7 CPI. And then our closest direct sale comparison to the farm that we're selling today, that was August 20th of 2024, Sibley County, Minnesota, 54.97 deeded acres. That was $10,710 per acre, sold for a 92 CPI. But before we get started, Brian Haugen, our auction manager, he's going to break down the sale for us. Brian?
Well, thank you, Jen. Good morning, everyone. We have folks here in person. We have folks on the telephone, and we got quite a number of folks watching along online. So I welcome you all here this morning to our auction via AuctionCast. My name's Brian Haugen. I'm the auction manager for today's sale, and we are honored, the entire team here. It's quite the sizable team. We're honored to represent the Reinhardt family today. So what we have is one tract of land, highly desirable, 99% tillable farm located in Section 29 of Severance Township here. So what we have, the deeded acres are showing 139.5 deeded acres, okay? Of that, from the FSA, we have 137.56 tillable acres. That's what you're renting out, folks. That's where we get the 99% tillable acres. So it doesn't happen very often here, having all tillable out of the farm. Usually there's some trees or a building site. So we're kind of excited about that. We have a strong CPI of 91.1. Alex Wayne, like you said, Jen, will be jumping in here in just a bit, and he's going to help explain that CPI. All I got to say is this is a really good CPI, very strong, very high for this area. Prominent soil types, Canisteo clay loams, Clarion loams. I know Alex is going to talk about that one. Good soils. Very high quality, all tillable. Again, 99%. Very limited supply of land comes up in this area, so I was pretty excited to hear about this farm coming to auction here today. So I've been out on this farm. I helped fly this farm, took a look at the inlets, the tile lines. What I noticed about this farm, it's got a really nice crown on the top of it. So natural drainage helps this farm, and you can see that from the topography map there up on your screen. Alex can talk a little bit more about that as he comes in. There is drain tile in place on this farm. There's outlets that outlet into JD7. I want to make a correction. We had some very early on print material that went out. We accidentally printed JD13 in there. JD13 there is no subsurface drainage tile that runs to JD 13. There is, if you look at the tax statement, there is a small little assessment for JD 13 that the south side of this farm drains into that watershed. So you'll see JD 13 on the tax statement, but correction in that all of the subsurface tile is rolling over to the east and to the south into JD 7. So there's a tile line south that runs back around to the southeast, and then there's also the majority of the tile. If you click on the tile map there, there's a little button, green button, says PDF tile map, that will take that tile straight east into JD7. So just wanted to clarify that, make sure there was no confusion in that. So I know for a fact there's many qualified operators in the area. My phone has rang quite constantly for individuals wanting to rent this farm if an investor does buy this. So investors, here's your chance to get 100% and get a good return on your investment, because a very, very strong neighborhood for qualified operators. So if you're looking for a farm to add to your existing farms, here it is. No building sites to worry about, no cleanup, just get in and get farming. It is open for 2025. This farm has majority of soybeans on it, so they'll come off here pretty quickly. It does have some corn to the south, and you will receive the possession of this farm as soon as your earnest money gets sent in here, and we're going to let the auctioneer talk about those terms and conditions in a minute, but you will get access with your earnest money to get in there and do your fall field work. The farm, I'm told by the sellers, will not be plowed back, so if you want to get in and do prep for next year how you would like, we're going to let you get right in there right away. And then we'll get this thing closed 30, 45 days, whatever we do. We should be pretty clear on this, pretty cut and dry. One last thing, this lies along Blacktop Road, nice access into the farm. Real estate taxes, as you see there on the screen, $7,752. So, great farm, everyone. Good luck to all you bidders, and you're going to have a nice piece of farmland.
Thank you so much, Brian. That was a great recap of the farm. We welcome all of our on-site and online bidders. Thank you so much for joining us here at AuctionCast today. I do want to point out just a few things for our viewers. Make sure that you're aware of the documents online about today's auctions. They're located below in the property description. And if at any time you would like to bid by phone, have any technical issues, or have questions, please call the number on your screen. Our auction manager, Brian, and our team are ready to answer your questions and take your bids over the phone, maybe even via text or email. I would also like to take this moment to introduce our auctioneer for the day, Greg Jensen. Greg has been in the land auction business for over 50 years and brings a wealth of experience with him to AuctionCast. Thank you for joining us today on AuctionCast. Let's get the auction started with auctioneer Mr. Greg Jensen.
Thank you, Jen. I appreciate that introduction. I should be 50 years old, not be in the auction business for 50 years. We're going to go over the terms and the conditions of the sale here. And I hope everyone can hear me. Everything's good. Method of sale, bidding will be dollars per deeded acre unless otherwise indicated by the auctioneer. That's what we're going to sell, dollars per deeded acres. Deeded acres may change because of the survey or other factors, in which case the total sales price will be adjusted to reflect that. Seller reserves the right to accept or reject any or all bids. The auction company and the seller reserve the right to preclude any person from bidding if there's any concern as to the person's credentials or fitness to bid or enter into a contract. Agency, Land Pros Real Estate, LLC and its agents are representing the seller. The taxes in 2024, taxes will be prorated. Condition, this sale is subject to all easements, restrictions of record, covenants, and leases. Each bidder is responsible for conducting their own inquiries and due diligence efforts at their own risk concerning the subject property. All property is sold as is, where is, with no warranties. Contract and title, immediately upon the conclusion of the auction, the highest winning bidder will enter into a real estate contract, purchase agreement, and provide funds for the earnest money to be deposited with the real estate and auction company. Seller will provide updated abstract or owner's title Insurance policy and clear title at their expense. Sale is not contingent upon financing. Closing date is on or before October 25th, 2024. Terms and possession. $100,000 non-refundable earnest money the day of the sale, which is today. Mailed in within 3 days of the auction to Land Pros. That earnest money will stay in our trust account until the closing. Earnest money will be held in the brokerage escrow trust account. Only approved bidders will be registered to bid. Buyers will need to provide a letter of credit or proof of funds prior to bidding. Closing will be on or before October 25th, 2024. There will be a 2% buyer's premium added to the final bid price or purchase price. There will be no financing contingencies. Buyers do their own due diligence prior to the bidding. Possession at closing, subject to the tenant's current crops. And once they're removed, you can go right into the field. The farm will be conveyed to the buyer free of any tenant's rights beyond current tenant's crops being removed. Any statement made day of auction takes precedence over printed material. All information provided herein was obtained, resources deemed reliable, but neither the auction company nor the sellers guarantee its accuracy. I think we went over the terms and the conditions. We'll start it right out. We had an opening bid of $5,000. Now it's gone to $6,000. So who'd give $7,000? $7,000 per deeded acre. I've got 6, now 7. Hot $7,000 now. What do you get? 7 now. What do you get? 7,000. 6,000 now. 7,000. Now this thing has got a CPI. It's almost, well, it's over 91. And for those of you that don't understand what a CPI is, 0 is low, 100 is high. That's how they measure your farm with all the other farms in the state of Minnesota. Anytime you have something over 90, you have a great farm. Good, high quality dirt. This is the kind of farm you want to buy right here. Now we got 6,000. Who'd give 7,000? Hot $7,000 bid. 7 to bid to buy him at 7,000. $7,000 now. What do you get? 7 now. What do you get? 6 to bid now. 7. 6,000 now. $7,000 now. What do you get? 7 now. But help yourself here. 6,000 now. 7. Hot 6,000 now. $7,000 now. What do you get? $7,000 bid for it. 6 to bid now. 7. Hot $7,000 now. What do you get? 7 now. What do you get? 7 now. What do you get? 7 for it. 6,000 now. 7. Hot 7 now. What do you get? 7 now. What do you get? 7 now. What do you get? 7,000. 6,000 now. $7,000 now. What do you get? 7 now. What do you get? $7,000 now. What do you get? 6 and 7. Hot 6 now. $7,000 now. What do you get? 7 to bid to buy him at 7,000. 7,000 to bid to buy him. I got 6 now. 7. Hot $7,000 now. What do you get? 7 for it. 6,000 to bid now. 7. Hot 7 now. What do you get? 7 now. What do you get? 7. Now you just heard Jen go over some of the latest and greatest land sales around the country in the Midwest. And I think I heard her say there was some for 12, some for 14, 15, 16. What do we have here? We have 6,000. And those farms were no better than the one we're selling right now. 6,000, now 7. Hot $7,000 now. What do you get? 7 for it. Hot $7,000 now. What do you get? 7 now. What do you get? 7 and now. What at 8? Hot 7 now. 8 now. 8 now. What do you get? 8 now. But an 8,000. 7 and now. $8,000 now. What do you get? 8 now. But an 8 now. But an 8. Now I heard Brian say all kinds of people want to rent this farm. So that must mean that it must be a really good farm, or not everybody would want to rent it. For those of you that are investors, for those of you that want to own it and farm it, that should indicate to you what a good farm it is. We have 7,000, now 8. Hot $8,000 now. What do you give? 8 now. But an 8 now. What do you give? 8 now. Help yourself here. 8,000. Hot 7 now. $8,000 now. What do you give? 8 now. But an 8 now. But an $8,000 bid for it. 7 now. $8,000 now. What do you give? 8 now. But an 8 now. But an $8,000. Hot 7 now. 8. Hot 7 now. 8 now. What do you give? 8 now. But just click that little clicker right there. 7 now. 8. Hot 8 now. What do you give? 8 now. But an 8 now. But an 8 now. But an 8 now. If you're online or on the phone, you know you're interested in buying this farm. So help yourself here today. We're going to have a new owner. 7 now. 8. Hot $8,000 now. What do you give? 8 now. But an 8 now. But an $8,000 bid. 7 now. 8. Hot $8,000 now. What do you give? 8 now. But an 8 now. But an 8 now. What do you give? 8,000. Hot $8,000 now. What do you give? 8 now. But an 8 now. But an 8 4 now. But an $8,000 bid. 7 now. 8. Hot $8,000 now. What do you give? 8 now. But an 8 now. But an 8 now. But an 8,000. Hot $8,000 now. But 8 now. But a 9 now. $9,000 now. What do you get? 9 now. But a 9. But a 9. But a 9 4 now. But $8,000 now. 9,000. $8,000 now. 9. We should have started right here, but we didn't. That's fine. 8,000 now. 9. At 9, but a 9, but a 9, but a 9, 4, but a 9, 9, but a 9, what do you get $9,000 bid for it? $8,000 now, what do you get 9, but a 9, but a 9, but a 9, what do you get 9,000? 8,000, now 10. 9,000 a bid, now 10. At 10, now 10, now what do you get 10, now what do you get 10, now what do you get 9, 10? I'm bid 9,000, now give 10. At 10 to bid a buy, now 10, what do you get 10, 10, now what do you get 10, 10, now what do you get 10 for it? At $10,000, now what do you get 9, now 10. At 9, now 10, 10, now what do you get 10, 10, now what do you get 10, 10, now what a 9, 10. At 9 to bid, now 10. At 10, 10, now what do you get 10, 10, now what do you get 10, 10, now what do you get 10 for it? 9,000, now 10. At $10,000, now what do you get 10, 10, now what do you get 10, 10, now what do you get 10? I'll tell you what, this is really a good farm. Really a good farm. I believe we got the tile maps online. You can take a look at those. I'll tell you, 91, just a little over 91 CPI. I tell you, it's really tough to beat. Really is. We've got 9,000. Now, who gave 10,000? At $10,000, now what do you get 10, 10, now what do you get 10, 10, now what do you get 10, 10, now what do you get 10 for it? At 9 and now 10, 10, now what do you get 10, 10, now what do you get 10, 10, now what do you get $10,000 for it? Now 9 and 10. At $10,000, now what do you get 9, now 10. At 10,000, 10, now 11. At 10,000, now $11,000, now what do you get 11, 11, now $11,000, now what do you get $11,000 for it? At 10 and now 11. At 11 and now 11, 11, now what do you get 11 for it? Now at 10, now 11. At $11,000, now what do you get 11, 11, now $11,000 for it? Now at $11,000. At 10 and now 11. Now not very often farms like this come up for sale in any area, especially with this quality. I'm telling you, if you're going to buy a farm, buy a good one, and this is a good one. We've got 10,000, now 11. At $11,000, at $11,000, now what do you get $11,000, now what do you get? But help yourself here. At 10 and now 11. At $11,000, now what do you get 11, 11, now at $11,000 bid, 10, 11. At $11,000, now what do you get 11, 11, now at 11, 4, now at $11,000. You got that little clicker there? Just go right ahead and click it. At 11,000. At $11,000 now, to get 11, 11. How are you going to feel if you get home tonight if you're not the buyer? You came here to buy this farm, go right ahead and buy it. I'll tell you what, I have a club. I talk about it at every auction, the Wished I Woulda Club. You're going to wish you would have bought it if you don't here today. It's going to come up for sale one time, and it's going to be over. It could be 50 years from now before it comes up, or it could be several generations. And all we got is 10, now 11. You help yourself right here today and buy this really, really, really good farm. 10, now 11. At $11,000. At 10 and now 11. 11 to bid, a buy, at $11,000. Now what do you get $11,000 bid? 10, 11, 11, 11, now at $11,000. Now what do you get 10, now 11. At $11,000. Now what do you get 10, now 11, 11, now at $11,000. Now what do you get 10, 11. At 10, now 11, 11, now at $11,000. Now what do you get 10, now 11. At 10,000, now 11. At $11,000 now, would you get $11,000 now, would you get 10 and 11,000? You know those farms that Jen talked about when we started out with the sold all over the country? There wasn't, the CSR2s were nowhere near what the CPI is on this one, and they were bringing $18,000, $17,000. All we got's 10. Who's going to give $11,000 for this beautiful, beautiful farm? I'll tell you, it's a dandy, and it's almost all tillable. She's ready to go. When the crops are out, you go in and work the field. You get in there next spring, and you're going to be happy that you bought it. I got 10 now. Who get 11,000? At $11,000 now, would you get 10 now 11? At $11,000 now, would you get 11, 11 now, but $11,000 now, would you get 10, 11? At 10 and now 11. Got 10,000 now 11. At $11,000 now, would you get 11, 11 now, but $11,000 for it, up at 10 now $11,000. I got 10 now 11. At 10 and now 11, 11 now, but 11. I know you're just thinking about it. You're sitting out there and you're going, okay, what should I do? I'll tell you what you do. You can't tell that close on a good farm like this. You really can't. I'll tell you, 10, 15 years from now or 5 years from now, you're going to look back and you're going to say, I am glad I bought that farm. And I'm going to talk about this too. Of all the people that I've sold farms to, and it's been a ton of them, I mean a lot of them, I've never had somebody come up and say they wish they wouldn't have bought the farm, but I've had tons of people come up and say they wish they would have bought the farm. They say, Greg, how come you didn't make me buy that farm? It was right next to me. It was right down the road 5 miles away. You didn't make. I said, I can't hold a gun to your head. I can't make you bid. You have to do that yourself. We're presenting this farm to you. You guys got to help yourself out there, because you know if you want it, just buy it. And if you got to pay $500 or $1,000 or even $2,000 more than you think you should, what are you going to do? Average that over 50 years. What is it? It isn't a McDonald's and fries, I'll tell you that. Now, we got 10. Who give 11? At 10 and now 11,000. At 10 and now $11,000. Now would you get 10, $11,000? At 10 and now 11, 11. Now but $11,000. Now would you get 10 and 11? I know you guys want to bid out there. Help yourself on this one. 10 now 11. Got 10 and now $11,000. Now would you get 10? Now $11,000. Now would you get 10, 11? At 10,000 now 11. At 10,000, now 11, 11, now 11, now we get 10, now $11,000, now we get 10 and 11. 10,000, now 11, number 836, you're out. At 10, now 11, now we get 11, 11, now about $11,000 bid. $10,000, 11, now we get $11,000. What do you say? 10, 11. 10, now 11, 11, now about 11, now we get 11, 4, now about 10, 11. 10,000, now 11. I'm going to try something different. Who give 10, 5? 10,500. 10,500. 10,500. Now would you give 500? Up to 500. Up to 500. Up to 500 out of bid. 10,000 to bid. Now would you give 500? At 500 a bid to buy. I'm going to buy. I'm going to give 5. At 5 now would you give 500? Up to 10, 5. At 10, 5 would you get 10, 5 would you get 10, 5 would you get 10, 5. I can tell you right now, from my perspective, if I was farming out in that area or looking for a farm in that area, I'd be buying this one. I really would. 10, 5. At 10.5, at 10.5, 91 CPI. You just take a look at that. I mean, we sell a lot of farms, 70, 75, 65 CPI. We sold a couple in the 50s. I'm going to tell you, this one here is a dandy. It really is. Does it need a couple more strings of tile? Maybe it does. But I'll tell you what, you take a farm like this, you take a sandy farm, you can't make a silk purse out of a sow's ear. But I'll tell you, this one is a silk purse. I've got 10-1. Now, who give 10-2? 10-1 and 2. 10,100, now to 200, now to get 2, 2, now to get 2, 2. Now to help yourself here. Now we're down to $100 increments. 10-1 and now 2. 2, 2, now to get 2, 2, now to get 2, 2, now to get 10-1 and 2. 10-1 and 2. And I got 10-1. Give me 10-2. 10-2, now to get 981. You're out. 10-1, now 2. 10,100, now $200. $200, now we get $200, now we get $200 bid for it. 10-1, now 2. 2, now we get 2, now we get 2, now we get 10-1 and 2. 10,100, now 2. 200, now we get 2, now we get 2, now we get 2, now we get 2. Now you know you're going to do it, you might as well just do it. 10-1, now 2. 2, now we get 2, now we get 10-1 and 2. 10-1 and 2, 10-1 now 2. 10,100, now 2. 10,100, now to 2, now to get 2, now to get 2, now to 10,100, now 2. $200, now to get 2, now to get 2, now to get 2, now to get 2. 10-1 and 2, 10-1 and 2. I'll tell you what I'm going to do right here. I'm going to take a little short break because we're going to talk about this really, really top-notch farm. And then we're going to come back, and I'm going to turn it right over to Alex. Alex, why don't you tell them what this beautiful, beautiful farm is all about? I'll be right back in just a minute.
Well, thank you so much, Greg, for that spirited round of bidding. Greg, everything you said was true, but I want to hear from Alex.
Yeah.
Tell me and everyone else watching about this farm, the agronomy on it. What are you seeing?
Yeah, so let's dive into the soil map right away. You start talking about Canisteo clay loams, Clarion loams. I see Webster and Nicollet, which are two of my favorite. You start talking productivity indexes in the 90s, mid-90s, a lot of them. And when, like Greg said, 0 to 100 for people who don't understand CPI in Minnesota. Every state's different. Every state's got a standard. When you're in the 90s, you're talking A-grade farmland. And they don't judge it based off of drainage. They don't judge it based off of it's just productivity. So can it be improved? Sure. But it's set the standard right away, and 91.1 weighted average for a productivity index on a farm this big, all tillable. It's just got some really great features. If we want to look at a little bit of the tile, it's the old saying, a farm's only as good as its outlets, right? And this farm's got outlets. It all goes to JD7, like Brian said. It's got a ditch. That's a problem a lot of times when we're selling farms. So overall, the farm it's an A-grade farm. It's going to be productive. Can it use some more tile? Sure. But it's got the basics down. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know before Brian had mentioned that this farm has got a nice crown to it. Tell us more about what that means.
Yeah, so if you look at a topography map of it, you can tell that it naturally drains some as well. We can get into certain parts of Minnesota where it's flat, and you don't have to go very far from this, and it gets to be flat. And on too much water, we struggle. It doesn't matter if you've got tile every 30 feet. You're still gonna, if you don't have any natural roll, it's tough to drain these heavy black soils. On a normal year, though, you're not going to beat them.
Yeah, and this spring, we had so much water and rain in that area, all across our region in Minnesota and Iowa especially. how did you think this farm did?
You know, I just looking at the aerials and stuff, I think it held up pretty well.
That tells you something, I think.
Yep, for sure.
And I wanted to go back too to some of the soil types. When I look at the soil map on this farm, you know, you mentioned some of your favorite ones were the Webster clay loam and the Nicollet clay loam. Why do you think that's your favorite? Tell me more about that clay loam.
Yeah, so when you start looking into soil classifications, there's three. There's sand, clay, and silt. And when you start talking about clay loams, they hold moisture very well on dry years. The CEC in general on clay loams is very high. CEC is cation exchange capacity, which basically, when you make it understandable, it holds nutrients very well. So the higher the CEC, the better off it can hold nutrients. It's going to hold water better. It's just better quality soil for our corn and soybean area.
Sure, and I mean, I look at this map too, and it appears to be, you see the green and you see the blue and a little bit of the orange. What does that mean?
Yeah, so it's just going into different soil types. A lot of times, the less colors, the better, and this
Yeah.
has got three, right?
Yeah.
It's got a lot of variation, but a lot of the variation is good.
Similar variation?
Very much so.
They're different, but not so different. Some of the farms we sell, which aren't in this area, you get into the southeast side of Minnesota, you get in the karst topography, and you get into very diverse soils. And I see, you know, probably green, yellow, purple, red, and you get a lot of diversity. But when you're looking at a farm like this, a productive piece of land, would you say this is probably better?
Yeah, I mean, it all depends on the year. Mother
Sure.
Nature still rules the roost.
Sure.
But you're set up to have a very successful crop year in and year out. And that's like Greg said, if you're going to buy a farm, buy a good one, guys. And as of right now, this is a really, really good farm for a good price. You guys should be clicking.
Well, that sounds great. Thank you so much. I'm going to also ask Craig here, what are you seeing on financials for this?
You know, Jen, looking at kind of this, we've got, I did an analysis that looked at kind of where rent would land and what long-term returns might look like. So, on the rent, we look at it from the perspective of a flex lease, looking at it from a corn perspective, where 33% of the farm's gross revenue would be paid as rent each year. So kind of using some realistic kind of historical averages of the prices and the productivity here, we come in with a projected rent that could be around $287 and change per acre. And if we take a look at how this farm might appreciate, kind of considering the 50-year average for farmland, it comes out at that's about 7.84%. But when we take that and add back in that rent each year, and with that appreciation, we come up with a 10-year annualized average return of about 13.62%, which is a real nice, strong return. An operator who was farming this themselves would likely do much better than that as well. But there's more to that than just the land cost.
Wow. I mean, the numbers don't lie. And when I see what you put together there, that looks like a pretty good return.
Yeah, land generally is pretty good. I've got a couple of charts I'd like to show you. The first one is that 50-year average. This is 1973 to 2022. So it's farmland in Iowa, which we think is a good index to kind of see how farmland moves across the country. They've got a nice index that goes back a long ways. On this chart and all the other ones that I'm going to show here, the shaded areas indicate periods of economic recession in the United States. So you see the little downward blip, kind of peaking at the 80s at the start there, but the follow-on recessions that we've experienced haven't really pulled down farmland at all. The way that I do like to look at this is kind of in the next slide, which is if I took $10,000 in 1973, 50 years ago, and I bought the land and I didn't do anything with it. I didn't farm it, I didn't rent it, I didn't get any income, I just paid my expenses. What would that farmland be worth now? So that $10,000 would have grown to $179,700 and change per acre. I'm sorry, in total. So that's a pretty good, strong way to, I think about the return.
And that's with no income, right?
That's with no income.
Rent.
Yep.
It's
That's
just the
just the land.
value of the land, basically, with the $10,000 investment 50 years ago. Yeah, and the beauty about land is no piece is created equal. And what I like to always think about, too, is they're not making any more. So there's only
Not
a
at
set
present,
amount of
so-
supply when you look at economics, right? Okay, we might dive into a little bit of economics here, but they are not making any more land. So that sort of changes the dynamics a little bit as far as supply
Mm-hmm.
and what the demand is.
Absolutely. And then I've got this data that I put a chart together that looks at it just a little bit of a different way next. So in this, the green years are years where the price went up, and the red are where it went down and by how much. So what I kind of like about this chart is you can kind of get an understanding of kind of what the down years look like and how often they occur. When we look at this, the bulk of the years, once we exclude the business in the 80s, have been pretty good. We look at recent economic recessions, 2008, 2009, just a little blip. In the mid 2010s, it's been some down years in there. But if we compare this to the business cycle in the stock market, the volatility is much greater historically. So, I think that this kind of shows that historically, the volatility has been low compared to other opportunities that might be out there for an investor or anybody else looking to put money to work.
Yeah, your chart clearly shows there's a lot more in green than there are in red.
Yep.
If you just simply look at the colors and how much we see in green and the appreciations or the year-over-year growth. And I like the fact that you use the Iowa farmland value because I agree, like that is really probably the golden standard. I don't know, what would you call that for where we place all of our numbers at? Like use Iowa and then it's going to give a good indication of where things are headed.
Yep. So, I think the percentages when I look at it are all pretty close. And that 7.84% 50-year annual average is about the same amount for real estate in total in the United States, as well.
Yeah.
So it's a pretty fixed average there. I think the other thing to think about, today, we had a significant rate cut yesterday of 0.5 point. And in the kind of the year leading up to that, rates on land loans have gone down about 1 point over the last year, and they're going to drop a bunch more here, likely coming in the future. There's talk of, a full point, so another 0.5 point before the end of the year, perhaps. So we'll have to see if that comes to fruition, but that's where the reporting seems to be. And, it's an election year, so there's pressure there to do that. So we'll have to see how that plays out. But I think that that's going to really help lift up the market across the board right now.
I completely agree with you, Craig. I mean, I've seen a lot of cycles in the last 25 years about rates do drive demand for
Everything.
land, and I completely agree. And it is nice to see there has been some rate cuts, and hopefully we see this turn around and we can get our buyers back in action to pick up some more of this land. I mean, it's a good thing. It's all good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, thank you both, gentlemen, for all the information you've given here on this break. We're going to take it to a quick commercial break, and we'll be right back with you.
Hello, welcome back. Oh boy, I'll tell you what, it's always fun to have recesses. You know why? Buying a farm is a big deal. Selling a farm is also a big deal. People need time to think. We understand that. I mean, when you're out there, you're probably running your calculator, or you're talking to your wife, or whatever you're doing. We want everyone to know that at our auctions, you're going to have all the time you need. So we're not going to rush our auctions. We don't do that. We give you time to think about it. But if this farm is in your area or you're looking for a good farm to lease out, this is a good one. The CPI, once again, it's over 91. It's a great little farm. Help yourself here. Now, we had, at the recess, we had 10-1. Now, I'm going to ask for $10,200. 10-1, now 2. Hot $200 for 200, now 2. 2, now we get $200, now we get 10-1 and 2. Hot 10-1 and now but a 2, now we get 2, now we get $200 for 2, 10-1 and 2. Hot 10-1, now but a $200, now we get 200. 200. Hot 200, now we get 2, now we get 2, now we get 10-1 and 2. Hot 10-1 and 2, now we get 2, now we get 10-1 and 2. Hot 10-1 and now 2, now we get 10-1 and 2. Hot 10,100, now 2. Hot 10,100, now but a 2, now we get 2, now we get 2, now we get 2. I'll tell you, when you're buying a farm, $100 an acre is not a lot of money, really. So help yourself here. We've got 10,100. Who give 10-2? Hot 10-2. Hot 10-2, now we get 2, now we get 2, now but 981, you're out. Hot 10-2. Hot 10-2, now we get 2, now we get 2, now we get 10-1 and 2. Hot 10-1 and now 2. 10-1 now 2, now we get 2, now we get 10-1. Now 200. At 10-1, now 2. At 10-1 and now we do 2, now we can do 2, now we can do 2, now we can 10-1 and 2. At 10,100. Now 200, now we can do 2, now we can do 2, now we can do 2, now we can 10-1 and 2. At 10,100, now 2. At $200, now we can do 2, now we can do 2, now we can do 2, now we can 10-1. Now 2. At 10,100, now 2, 2, now we can do 2, now we can do 2, now we can 10-1 and 2. At 10,100, now 2. At 10-1 and now 2, 2, now we can do 2, now we can 10-1 and 2. Go ahead and hit that clicker. At 10-1, now 2. At 2, 2, now we can do 2, now we can do 2, now we can 10-1, now 2. At 10-1, now 2. I got 10,100, now 200. At 200, now we can do 2, now we can do 2, now we can do 2, now we can do 2. I think a lot of times the bidders just kind of like to wear the auctioneer out. That's what it is. 10-1 and 2. At 10-1 and 2. At 10-1, now 2. At 10-1, now 2, 2. Now we can 2, 2. Now we can 2, 2. You just push that button there. 10-1, now 2. At 10-1 and 2. 2, 2. Now we can do 2. Now we can do 2. Now we can 10,100. Now 2. At 2, 2. Now we get 200. Now we get 2, 2. Now we get $200 bid for it. 10-1, now 2. At 10-1 and now 2, 2. Now we get 2, 2. Now we get 10-1 and 2. At 10-1, now 2. At 10-1 and now 2, 2. Now we get 2, 2. Now we get 10-1. Now 2. At 10-1, 10,100. Now 2, 2. Now we get 2, 2. Now we get 2. At 10,100. Now 200. At 200, now we get 2, 2. Now we get 2, 2. Now we get 10-1 and 2. At 10,100, now we get 200. Now we get 2, 2. Now we get 200. At 10,001, now 2. At 10,100, now we get 2, 2. Now we get 2, 2. Now we get 2 for it. 10-1, now 2. At 10-1 and now 2, 2. Now we get 2, 2. Now we get 2, 2. Now we get 10-1 and 2. At 10-1 and 2, 2. We keep going like this. We'll have to take a lunch break. At 10-1, now 2. I'm just kidding. We're not going to do that. At 10-1 and 2. At 10-1, now 2. At 10-1, now 2, 2. Now we get 2, 2. Now we get 981. Just got to hit that button there. Now 10-1, now 2. At 2, 2. Now we get 2, 2. Now we get 10-1 and 2. At 10-1 and 2, 2. Now we get 2, 2. Now we get 2, 2. Now 10-1. Now 200. At $10,100 bid. Now 10-2. At 10-2, at 10-2, now we get 2, 2, now we get 2, 2, now we get 2, 2, now we get 2. At 10-1 and 2. At 10-1 and now 2, 2, now we get 2, 2. Now we got a lot of people watching online out there. We got several of them that are active. 10-1, now 2. At 10,100, now 2. At $200, now we get 2, 2, 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 now we get 10-1. Now 2. At 10-1, now 2, 2, now we get 2, 2, now we get 10-1 and 2. At 10-1 and 2, at 10-1. Are you all done? At 10-1 and 2. At 10,100, now but 2, 2, now we get 2, 2, now if you are, we are. At 10-1 and 2. At 10-1, now 2, 2, now we get 2, 2, now we get 10-1. Now 200. At 10-1 and now 2, 2, now we get 2, 2, now we get 10-1's bid. Now $200. At $200, now we get 2, 2, now we get 2, 2, now we get 10-1 and 2. At 10,100, now 2. We've got $10,100 bid. Now 200. At 200 to bid to buy him. Buy him at 200. Now we get 2, 2. Now we get 2, 2. Now we get 10-1. Now 2. At 10-1, 2, 2. Now we get 2, 2. Now we get 2, 2. Now we get 2. At 10-1 and 2. At 10-1 and 2, 2. Now we get 2, 2. Now we get 2, 2. Now we get 10,100. Now 200. At 10,100. Now we get 2, 2. Now we get 2, 2. Now we get $200 bid for it. 10-1. Now 2. At 10-1 and 2, 2, now we get 2, 2, now we get 2, 2, now we get 10-1 and 2. At 10-1 and 2, now we get 2, 2, now we get 2, 2. Now you're not going to be a part of the Wished I Woulda Club, are you? 10-1, 2, 10-1, 2, 2, now we get 2, 2. Now if you're sitting there thinking, oh, should I buy it or shouldn't I buy it? Should I buy it or shouldn't I buy it? Well, you know darn well you should buy it because you're interested in this farm, and you wouldn't be here if you weren't interested. 10-1 and now 2. At $200, now we get 2, 2, now we get 2, 2, now we get 2. At 10-1 and 2, take a break. I think we're going to do, or we're going to take a break right now. I'm going to turn it right back over. I don't know who's going to take over this time.
Thank you so much, Greg, for all of the great bidding that we've had here today. So, yeah, we ended up, we're stuck at 10,001 here, asking for 10,002. Craig, I want to go back to you, and we're going to maybe talk a little bit more about the financials.
Yeah, sure, Jen. You know, I think when we look at kind of the rent here, I think we can talk a little bit more about that, of kind of how this flex lease works for people who aren't familiar with that. So it's pretty common to kind of look at how, you know, when you're trying to rent a farm, as a landlord, thinking to yourself, well, what is a fair price? How should I do this? You know, so a lot of times it's very common to use what's called a flex lease, and in this case we have, you know, kind of a split of the profits off of that land goes to pay the rent. The rent usually has a base rent, which is kind of a minimum amount that is paid every year, you know, split up between the spring and the fall, and then a bonus rent, and those two numbers kind of added together should equal, you know, that kind of third, you know, for corn. So it's common to use 40% for beans as well, and there's some other kind of variability to that, but those are kind of shoot from the hip, easy numbers that are pretty common. So when we kind of look at that, it's a fair way to kind of think about rent. And what we use is the price for these is the RMA prices. So we use the average of the spring and the fall RMA price instead of kind of, because it's hard to say what if the producer is going to even sell that grain that year. You know, what is a fair price? So kind of looking at the spring and the fall RMA price to kind of drive kind of where that rent goes along with whatever the yields are off the farm.
When you say RMA price,
so that would be the Risk Management Association. So it is a price that's published that's used for crop insurance. So kind of to drive basically what their crop insurance payout would be if they had losses there. You know, everybody is kind of stuck with the same RMA price.
that makes sense because it's fair.
That's the idea.
Yeah, and it seems like a fair thing to do between the owner of the property and the actual producer and the operator that's running.
Absolutely, because it shares some risk. You know, in
Does.
good years, the landlord is going to do great, and in bad years, you know, the landlord is going to not do as well. But overall, on the long term, when we've looked at kind of this over fairly long periods of time, the rents are better, you know, for a landowner to do it this way. Even though occasionally you might not have the best year, but you make up for it in the good years, and that keeps your tenant healthy long term, so that they can stay your good tenant forever.
Yeah, and that's always, you know, everything you bring up, Craig, here is great education for somebody that owns a piece of land. I think, you know, in my career, I've ran across this several times. I know you can probably attest to this, Alex, but we see rental agreements that really need some work, right?
Yeah.
And it isn't as simple as maybe somebody would think it is, because there's all these things that they don't think about, and it is land, but it is a little bit more involved than maybe somebody would think.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people out there who are fortunate to be renting land for $150 an acre from somebody that lives far away and is disconnected from the realities of the rent. But one day they might find out what market rent is and not be so happy.
Yeah, I think that's why it's so important to always keep in mind to have good experts surrounding you if you own land, or even if you want to sell something, or if you want to buy. You know, Alex, I'm sure you can think of lots of cases where this has happened.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. There always will be. It's
Education is key in this.
Yep.
But thank you both, gentlemen, for your input on this farm. We are going to take it back to Greg over here, auctioneer.
I'm back. Okay, we had 10-1. We're not going to have any more recesses. We are going to sell this farm subject to the owner's approval. There's 8 of them. So that's the way we're going to sell it. They'll have to get together because we can't talk to all of them. So anyway, no more recesses. If you wanna get on this farm, here we are. We got 10-1. Would you give 10-2? $10,200. Hit 10-2. 10-1 and now 2-2. Now we get 2. Now we get 2. Now we get 2. Now we get 2. $10,100. Now $200. Hot $200. Now we get $200 bid for it. Hot 10-1 and now 2. Now we get 2. Now we get 2. Now we help yourself. 10-1, 2. Now we get 2. Now we get 10-1 and 2. Hot 10-1 and 2. Now we get 2. Now we get 10,100. Now 2. Hot 10,001, 2. Now no more recesses. When we're done, we're done. 10-1. Now 2. Help yourself here. 10-1, 2. Hot 10,001, 2. Now we get 2. Now we get 2. Now we get 2. Now we get 10-1. Now 2. Hot 10-1 and 2. What do you say? All done? Hot 10-1 and now 2. Now we get 2. Now we get 2. Now we get 2. I'm going to wind her down here. 10-1. Now 2. Hot 10-1 and now 2. Now we get 2. Now we get 10-1 and 2. Hot 10,100. Now $200. Now we get $200 bid. Hot 10-1 and 2. 10-1 and 2. Hot 10-1 and now 2. Now we get 2. Now, but if you're done, we're done. We're going to let her go. 10-1, 2. Hot 10-1 and 2. Now we get 2. Now we get 1, 2. Hot 10-1 and 2. 10,100 now but a 2, 2, now we get 2, 2, now we get 2, 2, now we get 2. 10,100 now 2, 2, now we get 2, 2, now we get 10, 2, 10, 2, 10, 2. I'm going to sell it subject to the owner's approval. There's 8 of them. So if you want to get on board, you better get on right now. I'll tell you in about just a little bit, we're going to put the 60-second clock on her. 10-1, now 2. 10-1 and 2, 2. What do you say? 10-1 and 2. 10,100 now but a $200 now we get 2, 2, now we get 2, 2, now we get 2. W, you're done, we're done. 10-1 and 2. Let's put a 60-second clock on it. All right, Alex, give me 60 seconds. We're on right now. All right, 10-1 and 2. Boy, I'll tell you, we're running. Let me keep an eye on that. I like that. 10-1 now 2, 2. Now we get 2, 2. We're down to 50. 10-1, 2. 10-1 and 2. Now we get 2. Now we're down to 45. 10-1, 2. 10-1 and 2, 2. Now we get 10, 10. Now we're down to 41. 10-1 and 2, 2. Now we get 2, 2. Now we get 2. 10-2. Now we get 10-2. 10-2. Now we get 10-2. Now we get 10-2. Extend. We got 10-1 now 2. I said no more recesses. 10-1 and 2, 2. Now we get 10-1 and 2. And how many seconds we got left? Got 10. We're getting right down there. 10-1 and now 2. 10-1 and 2, 2. Now we get 2, 2. Now we get 2, 2. Now we said no more recesses. There's no more recesses. Did your clock stop? It must have, huh? 10-1, now 2. Oh, we're on the phone. Okay, well, we have to extend it a little bit because we have somebody on the phone, so I'm going to have to retract that. So we still have 10-1. Now we get 10-2. 10-1 and 2. 10-1 and 2, 2. Now we get 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 2. Remember, we're working for the seller, and somebody called in, and they want a minute. We'll give them a minute. We'll give them 5 minutes if they need it. 10-1, now 2. 10-1, 2. 10-1, now we get 2. Now we get 10-1 and 2. 10-1, now 2. 2, 2, now we get 2, 2, now we get 2, 2, now we get 10-1 and 2. 10-1 and 2, 2, now we get 2, now we get 10-1. Now 2. 10-1 and 2, 2, now we get 2, 2, now we get 1, 2. Now all you farmers out there, you're going to be in the field pretty soon. That's going to be a great time of year, isn't it? Get in those beans. I'll tell you what, it's going to be we're going to have a good year. 10-1, now 2. 10-1 and 2. 10-1 and 2, 2, now we get 2, 2, now we get 2, 2, now we get 2. 10-1 and 2, 2, now we get 2, 2, now we get 2, 2, now we get 2. $10,100 bid. Who'd give $10,200? At $10,200. 200 a bid, a buy him at 200. 100 now 2. 10-1 the bid. Now 10-2. 10-2. Now we get 2, 2. Now we get 2, 2. Now we get 2, 2. Now we get 2. 10-1 and 2. 10-1 and now 2, 2. Now we get 2, 2. Now we get 10-1 and 2. 10-1 now 2. 10-1 now 2, 2. Now we get 2, 2. Now we get 2, 2. Now we get 10-1. Now 2. 10,100. Now we get 2, 2. Now we get 2, 2. Now we get 10-1 and 2. 10,100 now 2. 10,100 now but a 200. Now we get 2, 2. Now we get 2, 2. Now we get 10-1. Now 2. 10-1 and now 2, 2. Now we get 10-1 and 2. How's our phone bidder doing there? What? 10-1 and 2. 10-1. Now 200. 10-1 and 2. 10-1 and 2, 2. Now we get 2, 2. Now we get 2, 2. Now we get 2. 10-1 and 2, 2, 2. Now we get 2, 2. Now we get 2, 2. 981. I know. I see you're active. You might as well hit the clicker. 10-1. Now 2. 10-1, 2, 2, 2, 2. Now we get 2, 2. Now we get 10-1 and 2. 10-1 and 2. Now we get 2, 2. Now we get 10-2. 10,100 to bid. Now 10-2. 10-2, now we get 2, 2, now we get 2, 2, now we get 2, 2, now we get 2. 10-2, now we get 10-1, now 2. 10-1 and 2. 10-1 and 2, 2, now we get 2, 2. How's he coming over there? 10-1 with his phone bidder. 10-1 and 10-1 and 2, we're all done. Okay, I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to give her 30 seconds, and now we're really going to do it. No more recesses. We're all done. 10-1, now 2. We're going to do the countdown. We got 30 seconds on the clock. 10-1 and 2, 2. Now we get 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 10-1 and 2. 10-1 and 2. Now we get 10-2. 10-2. Now we get 10-2. We only got 23 seconds left. 10-1 and 2. If you're done, we're done. 10-1 and 2. Now with 19 seconds. 10-1. Now 2. 10-1, 2. Now we get 10-1, 2. Now we get 10-1, 2. 10 seconds we've got. 10-1. Now 2. 2, 2. Now we get 2, 2. Now you better help yourself. It's going to be gone. 10-1. Now 2. Now 5 seconds. 10-1. Now 2. 10-1. 10-1. Now 2, 2. Now we get 2, 2. Now we get 2, 2, 2, 2. Now 2. I let it go subject to the family's approval for $10,100. I tell you what, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you on behalf of myself and Land Pros and Auction Cast for conducting this auction, and we really appreciate your attendance online. And I'm going to turn it back over to Jen. She's going to talk about it. There you go.
Well, thank you so much, Greg. So there you have it. We landed on 10,100 per acre of 139.5 acres, subject to the seller's approval. Craig, give us some numbers.
Yeah, thanks, Jen. So, the final sell price at 10,100 works out to about 10,447.29 per tillable, with a total sale price of $1,437,129 $437,129. There we go. Thereabouts.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? That's great.
Yeah.
I think that's a great sale.
Absolutely.
What I liked about this farm, that a lot of it was tillable. Thank you so much for your numbers there. I want to thank all of our bidders that came to participate today in person and online. Congratulations to our winning bidder, subject to approval. And we would really like to thank our sellers for trusting us here at Land Pros Auction Cast to auction your property today. Our auction manager, Brian Haugen, will be in touch with the bidders and the sellers to make arrangements going forward. I want to also mention here, before you go, we have next auctions coming up soon. October 2nd, 2024, Vernon County, Wisconsin. There's 189.8 more or less acres. This is an online only auction. It ends at 3 p.m. So watch our website for that. October 3rd, the next day, we have another online-only auction. This is Rock Island County, Illinois, 143.77 more or less acres. This ends at 1 p.m., so you got to watch those times. November 7th, 2024, we have a virtual auction with online bidding. This is a Freeborn County, Minnesota auction, 148.19 more or less acres. This is at 3 p.m. Our next auction in November is November 13th. This is Mower County, Minnesota, 79 more or less acres. This is a virtual live online auction, and it starts at 10. The same day. We've got 4 on November 13th, guys. We've got a 1 o'clock that day at Bureau County, Illinois. This is 58.21 acres. This is a virtual live online auction. And the same day at 3 p.m., we've also got a 311 more or less acres. This is Stevens County, Minnesota, virtual live online auction. And then the last one on November 13th, it's at 5 p.m. This is 240.61 more or less acres. Goodhue County, Minnesota, right in our home area where our office is located, virtual online auction. We're going to be busy, you guys, that day.
Yeah.
And then we also have one booked for December 3rd already. It's almost that time of year. This is 10 a.m., a virtual live online auction. Cottonwood County, 160 acres. Watch our website. That's where you're going to find everything. If you are thinking about buying or selling, keep Land Pros at the top of your list. You can connect with our team at landpros.com or the number on your screen at any time. Thanks again today for joining us here at Land Pros Auction Cast, and have a great rest of the day.